Constitutional Republic, the lie of democracy, and the erosion of American liberty. Most Americans today think we live in a democracy. That's what we're told. That's what the media hammers into our heads. Even our politicians have started parroting it like gospel. But here's the truth. We were never meant to be a democracy. The United States is a constitutional republic, guaranteed in Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution. And yet, somehow, we've been tricked into thinking democracy is the end-all, be-all of freedom. What's happened is simple. There's been an erosion of foundational, historical, civic and founders' literacy. And that erosion has led to something far more dangerous. A government that slowly chips away at inherent rights. Take George Mason, for example. He refused to sign the Constitution until a Bill of Rights was added. He demanded that the rights, freedoms and processes outlined in the Declaration, including its grievances, be codified. Why? Because Mason, like many of the founders, knew these rights are inherent. They are recognized by the government, not granted by it. But today, SCOTUS treats the Bill of Rights like a set of polite suggestions. Let's take the Second Amendment. You've probably heard the phrase well-regulated. Today, it's twisted to mean government oversight and control. But in the 18th century, that phrase meant in good working order, like a clock. A well-regulated clock wasn't one regulated by the government, it was one that was well-maintained in good working condition to keep accurate time. A well-regulated militia wasn't one micromanaged by the state, it was one well-equipped and ready. Now, SCOTUS tells us citizens can be restricted on what kinds of firearms they can own. And, by the way, never was restricted to firearms only. The founders said bear arms, which they understood to mean armament. Let that sink in for a moment. How the hell are people supposed to protect themselves from tyranny or despotism when the very entity they may need to resist gets to dictate the terms? Same thing with the Fifth Amendment. Due process is supposed to protect you from government abuse, but now, due process doesn't even kick in until your life has already been destroyed and you're standing trial. Grand jury, what a joke. SCOTUS allowed a system where you get no representation, no advocate in the room. Prosecutors can jury shop, judge shop and hide exculpatory evidence. That's not justice, that's lawfare. And while they're at it, they've butchered Article 4, Section 4 too. It guarantees each state a republican form of government and that the United States must protect them from invasion. But SCOTUS narrowed invasion to mean only a military force, ignoring the mass illegal crossings, cartel movement and the collapse of border integrity. And don't forget, our founders weren't elites in ivory towers. They were farmers, ranchers, blacksmiths, businessmen and laborers who beat the greatest military on earth. They knew that a well-organized people could dismantle a professional army. They understood what invasion really looks like and what tyranny breeds. The lie runs even deeper. We've been conditioned to believe democracy is sacred, untouchable, and the pinnacle of civilization. But here's the history they don't want you to know. When the founders used the term republic, they knew exactly what it meant. Because republicanism existed nearly 800 years before the Roman Republic was even formally declared. Yes, you heard that right. Nearly 8 centuries of republican governance predating Athenian democracy long before Rome rose. Early systems of councils, elected leadership, checks on power, codified law, all hallmarks of republican structure, existed in tribal and proto-state societies long before anyone uttered the word democracy. Even when you limit the comparison to Rome's republic versus Athens' democracy, Rome's system still lasted 200 years longer. Longevity, stability, structure, that's what republicanism delivered. But what does the modern left do? They twist it. They qualify democracy just to sell it. They say representative democracy or constitutional democracy to make it sound more refined. And then they blur the line even more by saying, well, a republic is a form of democracy. Bullshit. That argument defies common sense, ignores historical fact, and stomps all over the founders' intent. They'll claim voting and representation are democratic elements, but those tools existed in early republics long before Athens gave birth to mob rule. The truth is simple. We're not a democracy. We never were. We were built as a constitutional republic, with power divided, rights protected, and the mob restrained. And the reason so many Americans don't see it? Because we've been trained to worship the word democracy and treat the judiciary like a priesthood. We've been taught that the government is infallible, that the Supreme Court can't be wrong. But that's not the country we inherited, and it damn sure isn't the country we should leave behind. Freedom dies when history is forgotten. Remember who we are. Defend what we were meant to be. We are a constitutional republic and guaranteed a republican form of government per Article 4, Section 4, and by extension republican elements and processes. Our rights are inherent, to be recognized and adhered to by the government, not bestowed by it. Thanks for watching.